Thanks for tuning into this week's Roundtable. The gang's all here. We got myself and Chris from the MMA Podcast, Ray and Patrick from MMA Mental, who've been blowing up, and Ramses from Word on the Street Podcast, and Buffalo Dave from the Buffalo Dave Podcast. He needs to start that. But anyway, no, we got a bunch of stuff to talk about this week. The Strikeforce finale card coming up this Saturday. A bunch of news to cover. As always, we got the Fight Busters, Tweet of the Week, or Guess That Tweet, and Bonehead of the Week. Let's do it. Thanks again for tuning in. It is Word on the Street, MMA Mental, and the MMA Podcast all rolled up into one. We do it every Thursday from 7 to 9 Eastern, 4 to 6 Pacific. Let me pass it off to Ray really quick. A huge week for MMA Mental. Why don't you key us into all the stuff that went down this past weekend and this week?
Thank you very much. Yeah, we've had a brilliant week this week. We managed to get the interview that everybody was talking about. I managed to interview Tyson Fury last week, and that obviously calling out Cain Velasquez, which was a fun interview to do. It had a really good response, so that was great. As always, me and Patrick did our podcast yesterday, and we had 4 really good guests on. I know Patrick really enjoyed speaking to our guests, but check that out. That's up now for people to listen to. That's on our site. It's also on iTunes. We spoke to Colin the Freak Show Fletcher, talked to him about Tough Smashes and how he found that season. Then we had Abel Trujillo on, who had an amazing UFC lightweight debut, blasting through Marcus Levesa, so he was great to talk to. And then we had two Tough 16 contestants. We had Smiling Sam Alvey and Bristol Morunde, and we both enjoyed speaking to them. Next week we've got Derek Brunson coming fresh off of his Chris Lieben win. He was supposed to be on this week, but we've ended up rearranging it. We've got Bradley Scott, who was the Tough Smashes runner-up, and we've got an up-and-coming UK fighter called Jason Radcliffe, who we're looking forward to working with in the future. We feel he's a bright prospect, so we've got him on next week as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, that Tyson Fury interview was really entertaining. And Ramses, you have any shout-outs for the Word on the Street podcast now that that's starting to blast off a little bit?
Just follow me on Twitter is the best way to keep up with when the show is going live. I don't have a real set schedule on the podcast yet, so just follow the Aunt Jimmy Show on Twitter. That's me. And I'll just let you know the next time we go live. It could be whenever. You never fucking know. That's how it rolls on the streets, man. Gotta wait till you reach a safe location, then broadcast. But yeah, just follow me on Twitter and check out, just type in Word on the Street, UFC on YouTube. Just have yourself a good smoke and laugh.
Definitely, yeah. Chris and I have both been on that a couple of times, and it's a real fun show. You get a shit ton of callers, and it's funny hearing everyone's opinion. A disclaimer: you'll probably like the podcast a lot more if you're a Sonnen fan, but even if you don't like Sonnen, they don't dwell on Team Darkside or Team Sonnen too much. But there's definitely a little bit of a Chael bias on the show.
Word on the street.
Word on the fucking street. And our show, the MMA Podcast, we do it every Wednesday, 9 to 11 Eastern, 6 to 8 Pacific. We had Ryan Jimmo on this past week, who actually talked a bit about Sonnen, saying he sort of accepted the fact that the UFC is in the ratings game, and sort of accepted that Sonnen is getting that title shot, and said something along the lines of, okay, I know everyone's done this. Go on Twitter, type in Chael Sonnen, and just watch him rant for 10 minutes about anything. We had a really fun, 45-minute long interview with Ryan Jimmo. We have the clip of the interview and the whole episode on iTunes and YouTube already if you want to check it out. And next week we have Chad George from the the documentary Occupation Fighter that's on Netflix now. So definitely check that out. Chad George was in it with Clay Guida and Josh Barnett. And it's a real cool documentary. I have a bunch of questions for him, and I'm excited to have him on the show. And finally, if you want to be a part of the show, our Twitters, you can tweet us at the MMA Podcast or MMA Mental or the Aunt Jimmy Show, and whichever one of us see it, we'll bring up your point on air. If you want to join in the conversation, the number's 213-457-3380. So with all of that administrative bullshit out of the way, Ray, you ready for this week's Fight Busters? You there, Ray?
I am ready. I was on mute. I am ready.
Right.
We're ready for this week's Fight Busters. I'll give out the answers for last week as well. So we've got this week's Fight Busters, as always, is sponsored by UK Fightwear. If you can get all three right, you can win yourself a nice little prize, nice little baseball cap, blue dethrone hat. You can answer by tweeting to @MMA Mental or @themmapodcast.com. And we've also got, you can also email mmamental@hotmail.com. So last week's clues were, I've got my radio, my toy, and I'm going. A radio referred to as CB radio. A toy is a type of toy is a doll, and I'm going is I'm on my way. So it was CB Dollaway. Number 2 was the baby animal, the bird, and the child. The baby animal was a cub. The bird was a swan, and the child was obviously a son. So that was Cub Swanson. And Let's Fight with the robots. Let's Fight was war. Another word for robots is machine. So you had war machine. That was probably the easiest of the three. So we've got 3 new ones for this week. They're all UFC fighters, and they've all got fights scheduled in the near future. Okay, clue number 1. I have a weapon. Do you want it for the big country? Clue number 2. Jerry's friend, pardon child. And clue number 3 is stealing the cocoa. That is this week's 3 Fight Busters sponsored by UK Fightwear.
And we will shout those out again toward the end of the podcast. If you missed them, if you have the answers, tweet Ray at the MMA Podcast and get a chance to win some dope swag, son. Let's get straight into the news we got. We got a bunch of news to cover, and the first thing, which I found kind of interesting, you have a lot of fighters like Anderson Silva and Lyoto Machida. Fitch and Koscheck were like this when they were both at AKA. You have guys like Rory McDonald and GSP now, teammates who are not open whatsoever to fighting other teammates. Don't want to ruin that relationship. Well, recently Dan Henderson and Nate Marquardt have come out saying they're open to bouts with teammates Chael Sonnen and George St. Pierre, respectively. And before I put my 2 cents in on it, I kind of wanted to hear where you guys were at as far as when it comes to teammates fighting other teammates. Is it ethical? Is it something that when they say no, you kind of look down on the fighter a little bit? What are your thoughts on it, Ray? Did you mute yourself again?
Yeah, I wasn't up to be first, so that kind of threw me. Oh, I am up to be first. Look at the wrong one. I do apologise. Yeah.
My God.
I need to wake up, don't I? Okay. The thought of teammates fighting teammates, I actually think it's got to be down to them, because it would be very hard to face off against somebody who is a teammate. So it depends on those guys. I can understand the guys that don't want to do it. I think it's frustrating as a fan. I mean, I know for ages Josh Koscheck versus John Fitch made so much sense, but of course it's a fight we'll never get to see. But we talk about teammates versus teammates. How far do we go? Would you have brother versus brother? Would you have Nick versus Nate? Would you have Joe versus Dan? All the Nogueiras facing off. So it's a really, really tricky one. But I mean, if they do the fights, obviously they're going to be entertaining. But it's got to be down to them, and I could understand if they don't want to do it.
Yeah, this is something that has always bothered me. Mixed martial arts is an individual sport. As much as you have training partners and you want to feel like part of a team, at the end of the day, it's all about you and your progression in the business. And if you're in the UFC, they tell you to fight someone, you do it. That's their job. So all this picky matchmaking, I think, is just ridiculous. I mean, I personally have never had to fight a friend, so I can't really say much about it other than it kind of just bugs me that they don't suck it up and do it, especially if it's for a big payday or it makes sense in the division.
Yeah, I also have to agree. I think teammates should be fighting each other. It could hold up divisions, stuff like that. You just got to suck up at the end of the day. Your job is to fight. It's not like you guys are not going to be friends at the end of the day, so why not?
Yeah, if Dan Henderson is talking about fighting Chael, how much of it are they really teammates at this point? That's my big question. I don't know what this guy keeps doing, this Hendo, man. He keeps running his mouth. He keeps getting himself in deeper. But Dan Henderson versus Chael Sonnen, that's a fight that Sonnen fans just don't want to see. None of us want to see that happen. It's like watching the Karate Kid fight Miyagi. The teacher versus student, I don't think that's going to sell too many pay-per-views. Not this one, Like maybe only if Dan Henderson goes like full heel and he starts trashing Sonnen like nonstop, and maybe he says something bad or discouraging about Chael's Dog Danger waffles, then maybe, yeah, I'd get behind watching that fucking fight go down. But right now, nah, none of us want to see it. But teammates in general, yeah, if there's a genuine beef. But I don't know about teacher and student. That one's going a little too far. That's my fucking word.
For myself, for P-Money, I know how you can't want to fight your teammates. Have you ever slapboxed with one of your friends? That's what I want to ask. It starts off as fun. You're going maybe 70%. But I'll tell you what, after a while, I know I want to beat somebody's ass. And with these guys being professional mixed martial artists, they're training all day. You can't tell me maybe someone hits you at 90% when you're supposed to be going 50. They get in that little cheap shot and you want to lay them out. They want to fight unless it's someone who will just work you and work your ass over. So, I completely think teammates should be fighting. I think it's unnatural for them not to.
Yeah, I definitely agree with most all those sentiments. I think it makes sense. Obviously Sean Shelby and Joe Silva should take steps to avoid it. If you have a guy who's 15th in the division and another guy who's 20th, obviously that match doesn't need to be made. But when you have two guys in the top 5, Ray, you brought up Fitch and Koscheck before, when both of them were probably second and third for title contendership. And you're going to have the same exact problem if Rory can keep moving his way up and become a logical challenger for that welterweight belt. One of them is going to need to move up, or else it's inevitable. I do think Silva and Shelby do a good job at avoiding those teammate matchups. But, it's so refreshing to see guys like Cerrone versus Gallard who can step in there, put forth an amazing fight, and be friends before and after the fight. And that's really how it should be, And it's definitely a weird sort of room because, you can be friends and do almost every sport. You can go out and play basketball, baseball, football, soccer against your best friend and it not be a problem. But this is the business of beating the shit out of each other, and obviously a lot of emotions get wrapped up in that. So, Henderson, Sonnen, Marquardt, St. Pierre, we'll see if those matches get made going forward. Hendo has that fight with Lyoto Machida and Nate Marquardt coming over to the UFC into an already kind of stuffed welterweight title picture. So we'll see who he gets to fight first. Going into that, let's move on to another future fight: Ronda Rousey versus Liz Carmouche. Apparently, that's going to get a primetime schedule. The UFC is going all in on trying to make Ronda Rousey a marketable person, and just kind of thinking about these primetime specials. Obviously, it's going to be the first women's primetime. Thinking back to all of the primetime specials, I wanted to talk about what is your favorite primetime of all time. A few of them are definitely memorable for me. The St. Pierre Hardy one was pretty memorable. A couple others mixed in there, but really I don't think it can get any better than the first and second Silva versus Sonnen matchup. The two things that really make a primetime special really special is one, having very different backgrounds, and you had that with Anderson training in Brazil and Sonnen in Westland, Oregon, and a lot of trash talk. Obviously, that matchup had its fair share of trash talk as well. But thinking back, what is your favorite one? One or two favorite UFC primetime specials?
That's easily the first one that they ever produced, which was GSP versus Penn 2. I just loved seeing all the shit talk of BJ Penn saying that George is a front runner and he's going to quit and how to the death. And at the end of the day, he was the one who indeed quit. So I enjoyed that quite a bit. All the shit talking really bit him in the ass. So I thought that was the most compelling one.
For me, I'll have to go with the Brock Lesnar Cain Velasquez one. Pretty cool. Because you don't really get to see a lot of Brock in his personal life. He's always been like that, whether if it was in his wrestling career or his MMA career. He's just a real personal guy. So open up a little bit and you get to see Kane's backstory, which you've seen hundreds of times now since then, about his daddy coming up from Mexico, working on the farms and whatnot. So yeah, that would be mine.
Mine was easy. Definitely Sonnen versus Silva 2, the UFC 148 primetime. They totally nailed it, and they went deep. They nailed it. They were showing Anderson Silva in his mansion while Chael's, driving around a truck. He's just taking a run down the sidewalk in his suburban neighborhood. Meanwhile, Anderson is over there, playing paintball with the president of Brazil or some shit. It even had an appearance by Danger Waffles. And it gave us the famous quote by Anderson Silva about Chael and how he spec nothing. For that reason alone, that was a good one. It really pumped up the fight, and I didn't think I could be any more pumped up at that point.
This is a really hard call for me to make. I love the primetime series. Anytime I get to watch it, it just amps me up for a fight. Chris had one, the GSP BJ Penn 2. Fights I'm already excited for, they make me more excited to see. I can't wait. I'm like a kid on Christmas. I want to go to sleep early Friday night so I can wake up so it'll be Saturday for those fights. Fights I didn't give two shits about, I'm now very amped up for. Just getting to see that primetime special. So I celebrate the whole series. I love it.
Ray?
Yeah, for me, the biggest thing for me about the prime times is that you'll watch a prime time, and even though you're going into that prime time, you'll know that one of the guys doesn't have a chance in the fight, but you watch that prime time and you just start to believe that maybe he can do it, maybe he can beat that champion, or he can, pull off that upset. But I suppose one of my favourites was probably Penn GSP. I mean, at the time, it was such a massive fight. I remember it was obviously early in the year that fight happened. It was just a crazy way to kick the year off. It was, BJ Penn, GSP, we'd seen them square off before. Penn, I remember the fight where GSP won, but it was really, really close. I think Penn won the first round and GSP kind of squeaked the last two rounds. But yeah, I'd probably go for the Penn GSP one.
Yeah, that first primetime special had a lot of build-up. Too bad my boy BJ didn't pull that one off, but GSP was truly the better fighter that night. Talking about great primetime specials and great fights, probably an early nominee for Fight of the Year so far was Jim Miller versus Joe Lauzon, and both of them have sort of have their future fights sort of scripted out. People calling out Joe Lauzon, Jim Miller calling out people. We'll talk about Miller first. Miller saying he wants a rematch with Gray Maynard, who beat him way back in the day. Miller's put forth, I think, an incredible 7-2 since that fight, fighting Benson Henderson and Nate Diaz for the only losses, beating everybody else. That fight against Lauzon was really spectacular. And I wanted to put out there, should it happen? And what are your early thoughts on a matchup between Miller and Gray Maynard? Dave?
Yeah, I know what we talked about last week, opponents for Jim Miller and who's next for him, but I don't know if anyone brought up Maynard. I was thinking it at the time, but then, when we talk about Miller, he seems to always lose when he gets those top guys. I personally would like to see him build up his name a little bit more again before he takes on this fight with Maynard. But then again, the way Jim Miller fought Lauzon is maybe he's ready to take him on again and get that rematch. So I'm a little on both sides about it, but I wouldn't be opposed to it.
The Jim Miller versus Gray Maynard, the first fight wasn't even that close. It was a unanimous decision for Gray. I barely remember the fight as a fan, so why would I want to get interested in a rematch? I barely remember the first fucking fight. So now, and plus, Jim Miller is calling out an injured fighter. Gray's out for a while with a bad knee. So that's suspect in itself. Why is he calling out people that are injured? That always just makes me think he's just trying to make waves. Who knows with this one? But nah, he doesn't deserve a rematch. I see no reason for that to happen at all.
I like that fight. I think it could be good again. It's been a long enough time. I think both guys are definitely at different points in their careers. They're definitely evolved. I'd say probably entering the peak of their careers. But like Ramsey's mentioned, Gray's on the shelf right now. So what's Jim Miller doing calling out Gray Maynard? He's best to take another fight. If he wins that, then he can start going out and looking to avenge some of those losses on his record. So I like the fight, but perhaps just not at this point in time.
I can understand why he's calling him out. I mean, at the end of the day, if you've got losses on your record, you always want to avenge the losses. I don't think the fight would make a lot of sense for Gray Maynard because you've beat somebody, beating them again doesn't add to you. Doesn't build up your stock. Obviously, losing to him is going to knock you down a little bit. But the lightweight division is such a stacked division, and they're both probably two guys that are inside the top 10. Gray's probably ranked a little bit higher. They're both ranked around the same. So a fight between Maynard and Miller, I'm sure would be a good fight, be an entertaining fight. Miller seems to be a lot more aggressive from the way he fought back then to the way he fights now. But I still fancy Maynard to take him down and basically hold him down for 15 minutes and beat him up on the ground, because that's just what Maynard does.
Powerful.
Yeah, I remember that fight quite well. It was UFC 96, and it was actually mostly contested on the feet. Jim Miller got kind of battered in that fight. Gray was using his boxing to a great deal. There wasn't too much grappling in it. But as far as that fight happening now, I think it makes sense. Not only is Gray Maynard still a top guy, but Jim Miller wants that revenge. On top of that, similarly, they're 1-1 in their last two fights. Both lost in devastating fashion, and then had some decent wins. So I would definitely want to see this fight. It makes sense. If Jim can get past Gray, which he didn't have a great track record in the first place, then I think that would really solidify him as top 5 material.
Certainly, yeah. I didn't really think of that, but yeah, the winner would really be in a great spot. Both of them, I would say, are in the top 10 now. Personally, I like the Dos Anjos fight more, just because I'm not much of a fan of recycling rematches unless it's absolutely necessary. But if they did fight one another, I think Gray is just a smidgen better standing up and wrestling. Miller was dialing up combinations excellently in his last fight against Lauzon, but I think Maynard barely edges him out on both phases of the fight, on the ground and standing up. But if Miller wants it more, which might be the case, coming off those two losses against Henderson and Diaz within the last, couple of years, really looking to vault himself up, I think it would really come down to who wanted it more, and both of these guys have incredible wills, so it would be interesting to see what happened if they did have a rematch. Talking about that that UFC 155 fight, and it was UFC 155 and a fight at 155 pounds between Miller and Lauzon. The loser of that fight being Lauzon, but I don't think you really can take too much out of his stock. That was a gritty fight. Lauzon's a warrior. Jamie Varner apparently saying he wants a rematch with Joe Lauzon. Varner lost to Lauzon just about 5 months ago at UFC on Fox 4. Won the first 2 rounds and then got submitted via triangle choke about halfway through the third. I actually really like this fight. It was one of those fights, sort of like Rory versus Condit, where one fighter dominated the first 2 rounds, and then the fighter who ultimately won really found his niche in the third round. I think if Varner is smarter about the way he grapples, maybe takes a whole bunch of jits classes to really focus in on what Lauzon's good at doing, he might have a better chance to actually win all 3 rounds. Varner not really looking like the most exciting fighter in the UFC. Came out and knocked out Barbosa in the first round and really impressed a lot of people in what may have been the upset of 2012. But in his last fights against Lauzon and Gallard, he seems to be happy with just smothering people and not giving him much of a chance to win the fight. If they fought again, I'm going to be rooting for Lauzon, but I think Varner's going to have a really good chance to impose his will and make things happen. So sort of the same question as last time: should the fight be made in the first place? And if it does, what are your early thoughts on it?
Oh man, Jamie Varner, he wants a rematch with Joe Lauzon. Should it happen? Yes. I'm not even that big of a Jamie Varner fan. Actually, I don't really like him that much. I don't care for him. I'm not saying I don't like him, but should they rematch? Yes. Jamie Varner got choked out in the last minutes of the last round with a triangle out of nowhere. But up until that, it was a damn good fight, and he was on top. And being on Team Sonnen, that fight looked really familiar. Jake, you were on to that. I say anyone who loses via desperation triangle should always be entitled to an immediate and unquestioned rematch. Word on the street.
Cannot argue with logic like that. I'm basically on board, though. It was a short notice fight where Varner stepped in, if I'm not mistaken, and he was winning the whole thing. Varner's coming back. He's looking real good. He just handled Melvin Guillard, something fierce, and he wants to prove that he's back and he's legit. And he got caught late in the third with that triangle, and he's got the boxing, he's got the wrestling, he's got all the tools. And hey, I think they're both free. Set that match up.
I've got to call Jake out. Did he not watch the Jamie Varner Melvin Guillard fight? He didn't blanket Guillard. They went to war for 15 minutes. They stood there toe-to-toe.
He didn't blanket him, but toward the end of the fight, I don't really think he was looking to finish it. I think he was...
Did you not see the pile driver?
I don't know. He seemed happy with winning the 30-27 decision.
As much as I want to back you up, you're wrong, Jakey.
It was a brilliant fight. I mean, I actually thought that was fight of the night up until I saw the Lauzon-Miller fight, obviously, because that was just a crazy fight. But yeah, I've been really impressed with Varner. And what Patrick said was right. He did take the fight against Joe Lauzon on short notice, and he did gas in that third round, which is why he lost. I think if he'd had a full training camp and he can obviously fight 15 minutes, I don't think he would have got tired and he would have won that decision. So I can understand why he's calling Joe Lauzon out. And to be honest with you, we've seen Jamie Varner fight 3 times in the UFC since he's come back, and every fight so far for me has been exciting. Joe Lauzon's also always exciting. I'd be happy to see him fight again, just because it'd be fun to watch him.
Yeah, definitely. Ramsey's brought up a good point of how he doesn't like Jamie Varner. I was on that same bandwagon until he came back into the UFC, kind of reflecting Ray's sentiments. Before he came to the UFC and the WEC, he was just a real turd, just a real wiener. I mean, he totally faked, an eye strike in his fight with Cerrone the first time. He was notorious for trying to call timeouts in fights. He was just a real bitch, but now that he's come back to the UFC, training with Benson Henderson at the lab, he's really put some hard work in, and he has looked nothing short of fantastic. That being said, I don't see how this fight makes sense, man. I mean, they just fought earlier, in August of 2012? It doesn't make sense at all. I know Joe's coming off of a loss. Jamie's coming off of a win. So that in itself, it shouldn't make sense. And then the fact that they just fought, no, let them fight some other people. If they line up again, then let's see it happen. I don't think it's warranted at this point.
Well, looks like Chris is the odd man out because I believe that they should rematch too. Don't forget too that was something that none of you guys brought up, that Varner broke his hand in that fight in the second round. So I mean that there I think grants a little bit of a reason to give them a rematch. And then with the taking the fight on short notice, then to get the full camp to prepare for Lauzon. It could even be a better fight for the next time around. So I definitely think they should have a rematch.
Yeah, a little bit of mixed opinion on that, but it'll be interesting to see whether Miller and Lauzon are matched up with Maynard and Varner next, respectively, or if they get different opponents. It'll definitely have a lot of implications on the lightweight belt and who Benson Henderson fights next. Obviously, you have a bunch of other things going on in that lightweight division. You got Gilbert Melendez coming over, Eddie Alvarez maybe coming over. Obviously, that fight between Cerrone and Anthony Pettis. A lot of big stuff happening. And before we move on to the rest of the news, got a few fight announcements. Want to talk about a few different things. Let us get straight to Guess That Tweet. And Dave, you're hosting this week, so take it away, buddy.
All right. First one is going to be a heavy or an all British pad here. Alright, so here's the tweet. Okay, no more retweets. Must be clogging timelines all over the place. Movie time, hashtag Looper. Was that Dan Hardy, Michael Bisping, Pickett, or Tom Watson?
Chris?
Sorry, gentlemen. I was muted. I'm going to go with Tom Watson.
Ray?
Looks like you're going to have to do this every time.
I'm here. I'm going to go with Dan Hardy.
Alright, so it's Hardy, Pickett, Watson, and who else?
Bisping.
Who do I think is going to see Looper the most? Bisping, I don't feel like he watches anything other than like movies from the 1920s. Out of Watson and Pickett and Hardy, I'll go ahead and go with the little brawler Brad Pickett.
Yeah, I'll go with Dan Hardy. I'll follow my man Ray on this.
I'm never right. My instinct, it's telling me Bisping, but I'll do the George Costanza here, and I'll go with Brad Pickett.
Well, nobody was right. It was Michael Bisping. Should have went with Ramsey there.
Fuck it. Oh,
Yeah.
piss.
Alright, next one. I am just contemplating full steam ahead, batten down the hatches, time to ram the gate. And this one was a picture attached to it with just someone sitting in a truck, it looked like, because they looked like they're high up and there was a steel iron gates a couple hundred yards away. Was that Quentin Rampage Jackson, Joey Beltran, Mark Hunt, or Shane Carwin?
Mark Hunt.
I'm going Joey Beltran.
Hey, we're doing it backwards this time, you cowboy.
Snake order.
Chris going out of turn. What else is new?
Ha! You love it.
Ramses, I believe you're up, sir.
Yeah, sorry. I'm the one that said I'm gonna go with Mark Hunt.
As for me, I have absolutely no clue. I'll say Rampage Jackson.
Sorry for asking again. It was Jackson, Hunt, and which two other people?
Beltran and Shane Carwin.
I will go with Shane Carwin. Why not?
It's a complete guess. I'm going to go Rampage.
Chris?
I already said mine, but I'll say it again. Beltran.
Yeah, we couldn't hear you or Ramses because you were talking over each other.
Beltran.
It wasn't Shane Carwin. Wasn't the Executioner. I threw in Rampage as a joke because, the whole Rampage, going on a Rampage, but definitely wasn't him. It was Mark Hunt. Ramses gets the point.
Yes, finally.
Oh, shit.
Oh, damn.
Alright, next one. A family that prays together stays together, and one that walks apart just falls apart. Was that Matt Brown, Mark Bocek, Max Holloway, or TJ Dillashaw?
Matt the Immortal Brown.
My first thoughts were Matt Brown as well.
Man, I don't want to go with the pack, but my first thought was Brown too. Yeah, fuck it. I'll go with Matt Brown.
And can I get the rest? I know we had TJ Dillashaw and Matt Brown.
Mark Bocek or Max Holloway?
All right. I'm going to go. Oh, I know there's a curveball in there somewhere, Dave, you bastard. I'm going Max Holloway.
Yeah, maybe Matt Brown is a churchy. I'm not sure about that one, but I definitely know that Max Holloway is a damn churchy. So that's my vote, Max Holloway.
Well, it wasn't Bocek, wasn't Dillashaw, wasn't the Immortal one. It was Max Holloway on Ramsey's hunch of being a churchy.
Oh, damn.
It's happening today, guys. It's all coming together. All the training on Twitter. It's coming together and paying off.
P-Money got that one, too.
Sudden will last 4 rounds and he'll tap out. You'll be gone by the 5th game.
Yeah, who has 0 right now?
I'm going to finish, man.
And P-Money, there was no curveball on that one. I just wanted to throw some fighters that no one would really think about, so maybe that was all in itself. I don't know. All right. Next one, it will be every day I'm feeling better and better. I'm only 6 days in. Conditioning, speed, timing, coming back. Hashtag chubby cheesecake, gone. Was that Stipe Miocic, Forrest Griffin, Uriah Faber, or Diego Sanchez?
Oof, who's been injured? Probably. Damn, what was that last choice, if you don't mind? I think I might have missed that one.
That's
the last choice.
The last one? I think I said Sanchez, yeah.
Fuck. I'll just go with Uriah Faber nowhere.
All right, your boy P Money is going to select out of nowhere Stipe Miocic.
So it's Miocic, Faber, Sanchez, and who else?
Forrest Monkey Ears Griffin.
There weren't any like cuss words or implications of violence or rape or anything, so I don't think it's Griffin. He wasn't shouting out any sponsors, so I don't think it's Faber. And out of Sanchez and Miocic, I could see either one tweeting that. I'll go with Diego Sanchez. Fuck it, just for parody. And P Money picked Miocic. I'll go Diego Sanchez. The Dream.
Yeah, I'm definitely going with the dream/nightmare, Diego Sanchez.
And Skip and Ray. Good call.
Oh shit!
I'll take Forrest Griffin.
Alright, so since everyone answered now, we need to get Chris like the red light. When it's his turn, the red light will come on.
A green light.
Or that. I was thinking red light because of the whole studio thing, but sure. We'll go with the green light. Alright, so it wasn't Stipe, wasn't Faber, wasn't Forrest, it was Mr. Diego Sanchez.
So who all picked him? Just Chris and I?
Damn.
Yes.
Damn, so Team MMA Podcast doing work. We got a combined 4 points. Team MMA Mental with a combined 0 points. Where you guys at this week?
No, we got one.
Oh, wait, who?
Check yourself, fool.
P-Money got, him and Ramsey both got Max Holloway.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So I guess Ray's the only dumb, stupid idiot with 0.
Scorekeeping, Jake. God, how does it work?
Right. So last one before the bonus. Last one before the bonus is, I don't see myself as a fighter. I'm a businessman. I love trading punches. Was that Sayer Bahadruzala, Darren Cruikshank, Thiago Alves, or Clay Guida?
Well, I'm going to go with Sihar Bahadurzada.
My first thought when you said that tweet was Brian Stan, but it weren't in there, so I'll go for Sia, and then I'll use the same surname that Chris said.
Yeah. When you all sort of went over the list, I was thinking, which can I picture saying that? CR is always coming up with kind of clever things to say about punching people in the face. So I hate to go with the crowd, but I think it's CR as well.
That makes 4 of us thus far. I want to stray, I want to deviate, but damn it, that's what I'm going with. CR Bahadurzada.
Are you sure there wasn't some mistake here? Are you sure that wasn't... I mean, John Jones? Was he one of the options? Because that sounds like him. But I'll just go with Thiago Alves. Just random here.
Shouldn't go with just random because you were wrong, Ramses. It wasn't Cruikshank, it wasn't Guida. Almost all the panel had it right with CR. Blah, 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 blah.
So we got a 4-way tie going into overtime, which means every one of us has got to pick a different answer, and the winner wins?
Sure.
Damn.
All right.
I'm going to sit out of the tie if that's all right.
What was that, Ray?
I'm going to sit out of the 4-way tie. I'll just listen.
Yeah, that's all right. You can sit
and... Ray taps out.
sit and think about how horrible you did today and guess that tweet.
I got caught in a late triangle. I want a rematch.
That sounds familiar
You'll get
for
one.
some reason.
All right, this one's gonna be Strikeforce heavy since it's the last card coming up. I decided to give the fighters a little shout out. So, the first week after my fight, I plan on adding bacon on everything. Was that Daniel Cormier, Tim Kennedy, KJ Noons, or Mike Kyle?
Shit. I don't even know if he has a fight. I'll go with Tim Kennedy.
Ramses, they all have fights. That's why I said I was picking it.
Oh boy.
I don't even know who he's
geez.
fighting.
Okay. You know what? He's a heavyweight. I gotta go with him. I'll go with Daniel Cormier.
So it's between Nunes and Pyle, and whoever I don't pick goes to Chris. I guess I'll go with Mike Pyle, because I want to screw Chris over and give him who I think is the last person of
Not
the
Kyle,
four.
Kyle.
Kyle? I said
Yeah.
Pyle.
No, yeah, it's
I said
Kyle.
Mike
Kyle.
Oh, well, Mike Pyle is fighting in the Strikeforce finale, correct?
No, Mike
No.
Kyle.
All right, well, whichever one it is, I fucking pick him.
Herb Yamasaki.
Herb Yamasaki, cocksuckers. So I guess Chris gets KJ Noons as default.
Yep. Alright, well, it wasn't the heavyweight, Mr. Dan Cormier. Wasn't KJ Noons. It wasn't Mike Kyle Pyle, whoever. It was Tim Kennedy and Ramsey just giving it a guess.
Oh my god.
Oh shit! Ramses with his first win.
Holy
Look at that.
shit. I'd like to
Ranger
thank my
danger.
sponsor, Marijuana, the Sacred Plant. Shout out Austin, Texas. Thank you very much. My first victory. It feels great. I never thought I'd see this. But, you know, I am a contender. I'm here to stay. Next week, I'll just come back better than ever. Thank you, everybody. Word on
Hey.
the street. Victory.
You know what, dude?
Still
You
undefeated.
You are Anderson Silva in this scenario. You know that, right? A late round victory. You're Anderson Silva, son.
No, this was straight technique and courage. All right? It wasn't a desperation triangle. There's a difference. All right? It wasn't a wraparound. I ain't going gay for the win. All right? I just did that straight up with the power of marijuana. Fuck Anderson Silva. Thanks again to all my fans, everybody that's watching and listening to this live. Like I said, I don't even know how to feel about this. But just thanks again to everybody. Word on the street.
You're gonna lose the next time.
Word on the street.
That guy, he don't respect me.
Yeah, and congrats to Ramses getting his first win, putting the MMA podcast up 8-5 against MMA Mental. Pathetic. And next week's Guess That Tweet will be hosted by Chris, so looking forward to Chris digging up some fun tweets for us to guess and whatnot.
Yep.
All right, I guess I'll move on. Okami vs. Lombard announced for UFC on Fuel. I think it's UFC on Fuel 8. It's March 3rd in Japan against Hector Lombard. We actually spoke a little bit on this before it was announced because it was, a potential matchup. Both of these guys, black belts in judo. Both these guys have sort of similar styles just as far as the judo goes. Obviously, Lombard's more known for his stand-up than Yushin Okami was. And now that it's official and everything, we're going to get it in a little less than 2 months. What are your early thoughts on the fight? Me, personally, I think it's all going to come down to whether Lombard can stop Yushin from fighting with that suffocating style. If Lombard can make it into a boxing match, he's going to win this fight easily, but we don't know if he's going to be able to keep a practitioner like Okami from keeping up the clinch work and groundwork and being able to get out of that web, even though he will have a really good chance as skilled as he is in judo. What do you guys think of this fight?
I like this fight. I believe we were talking about this as a potential matchup for both of these guys on the last week's roundtable. Solid matchup. Both guys have wins on their side as of the moment, and it's going to be really interesting to see if the much shorter Hector Lombard, the judo practitioner, will be able to stop the takedowns of the much bigger Okami. I think that there's a good chance he will be. And, Okami does have a big reach, though. He's got a somewhat improved striking game, but I see Hector Lombard getting inside and jacking Okami up. I'm calling for a Hector Lombard first round knockout.
Powerful.
I like this fight as well. I think this is a good fight on paper. We all know what Okami wants to do. He wants to get in, he wants to get Lombard, and he wants to drag him down to the ground.
Powerful.
But Lombard's got a very good judo base, which should help him with his balance and with help him defending the takedowns. And if Lombard keeps this fight standing, you can only see this fight going one way, because Lombard on his feet is devastating. I could see, even if Okami got Lombard down, he's going to have to get him down each time at the start of each round. Every time it's on the feet, Lombard only needs to land one shot and put him in trouble, and he'll swarm and finish. So I could see Lombard winning the fight. Maybe it would go out the first round, but definitely could see Lombard getting a TKO.
Well, you guys have some interesting thoughts there. Hector Lombard, I think the reason why his judo game is so savage at keeping these larger men at bay is because of his build and how short he is. He's my height, but he's like 3 times as thick as I am. The dude is an absolute fire plug. Patrick brought up a point that Okami had an improved striking game, I believe. And as much as this is true, in his last 2 fights, actually 3 fights, he's really gone back to his grappling roots. I mean, originally when he was in the UFC, he was doing a lot of wrestling, which is kind of strange for a Japanese fighter. They're not normally wrestlers. But, then he kind of went to a boxing style against Marquardt, Munoz, and Lucio Linares. But after losing to Anderson Silva, he's gone back to his strength, which is his wrestling. So let's look at common opponents. Tim Bosch. Okami really dominated Bosch on the ground, whereas Hector, Lombard couldn't really get much off. That being said, I feel that Lombard has much more power and much more technique in his strikes. I think that's the X factor here. I don't think Okami can do to Lombard what he did to Tim Bosch by taking him down and a lot of his other opponents. So I've definitely got Lombard in this one as well by a finish. Who knows what round, but it will happen.
Yeah, I'm with you guys too. I really don't like Okami's chances here. He could always smother him for 3 rounds and hopefully get a decision, but I just don't see it going that way. Like you guys already mentioned, Lombard's judo base will definitely help him fight off those takedowns. Okami is one of the better wrestlers in the division. Maybe top 2 now that Sonnen's up in the light heavyweights now. Maybe top 3 because I'm forgetting about Munoz not Munoz. I forgot about Lyman. But at the same time, Okami likes to strike a little bit now, but I really don't think he'll want to do that after seeing Lombard's last fight and the damage he could do and plus in previous fights. Really think this is Lombard's for the taking.
Okami versus Lombard, this is not a fight that I'm looking forward to because I am a Yushin Okami fan, but it's kind of, this is going to be a rough one for him. This is going to be an ugly slugfest, I'm predicting, and I honestly don't see Okami winning unless he borrows that gun from Chael's mom. The problem is power, basically. If they're going to exchange, Okami's got the lightning and thunder or whatever the fuck, but Lombard's got that Mike Tyson power. It's so, I don't think it'll be round 1 like someone said earlier. I think it's going to look a lot like maybe second round, maybe. It'll be like the Bosch versus Okami fight, except, let's face it, Lombard is better than Bosch. And he's going to want to get the UFC is going to want to see that $300K payoff. That's what Lombard gets pays. And I think he's going to cash in on Yushin Okami, unfortunately. No, thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, I was typing in a little note right there, but I like that take. Not many guys in the middleweight division would be a favorite over Yushin Okami, but Lombard's got the tools, the perfect skill set to get over that judo hump. This next subject, I wanted to shoot off to Ray first because it involves his podcast, MMA Mental. He had Tyson Fury on, who called out the UFC heavyweight champion Cain Velasquez, calling him a midget. Said a lot of inflammatory things. So what I want to pass around to Ray and the rest of the roundtable is whether you think he genuinely believes this or is it an attention grab. Obviously, I don't think there is any debate on what would happen in an MMA match between the two. I think we all agree Kane would take him down and beat him to smithereens. But something I wanted to throw to Ray as well. Walk us through actually getting that interview, doing the interview, and then talk about the after the interview, all of the views you got and all the people who were putting up that interview. It really sort of went viral there for you, Ray.
Yeah, it was kind of bad, really. I mean, we go on there, we go on to Twitter, Facebook. We look to try and get the best interviews we can get, and it's always nice when they, when you get them and the interviews go well. But obviously, Tyson Fury had tweeted earlier on in the week saying that he could beat Cain Velasquez, and he'd made quite a few statements about Cain Velasquez being small and stuff like that. And Tyson Fury is not necessarily well known over in the States, but he's quite a well known boxer in the UK. He's an undefeated fighter. He's 6'9", so he's a big guy. He comes from a gypsy bare knuckle background, which is always interesting. There's always a bit of a stigma about the gypsies. You only need to look at Brad Pitt in Snatch to kind of know what I'm talking about. But yeah, so it was really it was interesting what he was saying. So he was on Twitter, and as we all know, the best way to get you guys off Twitter is to message them when they're online if you want to get a response. So I'd sent him a tweet saying somewhat along the lines of, come and tell the MMA community how you can beat Cain Velasquez. And he come back and said, yeah, I'll do that. So I jumped straight on it. So when do you want to do it? He says, what about now? So of course, straight away I said, okay, I'm following you. DM me your number. And of course, as soon as he said that now, all of a sudden people started coming over onto my Twitter feed and started sending me messages saying, are you doing the interview? When are you doing the interview? Is it up yet? And it just went absolutely mad. There was such a big response for it. So, of course, I phoned up Tyson. We had a little chat before. And then, of course, we went into the recording. Obviously, I couldn't agree with what he was saying. I couldn't say, you can beat Cain Velasquez, because obviously that's not what I believe. So I tried to give him the questions which, maybe he didn't want to answer. I tried to put him in the awkward positions. I tried to say, what would you do off your back? But it was a brilliant interview. It was good fun to do, and Tyson Fury really knows how to sell himself. And he come out with some classic quotes like, I train K1, and I'll punch him about the head. I can punch him anywhere. I'm a gypsy warrior. And I think the last line of the interview was, tell Cain he's dead, which I thought was brilliant. But yeah, it was a really good interview, and it's had a massive response. It obviously went, like you said, it went viral. It got quite a lot of retweets. It was talked about on the radio. It was certainly huge in the UK, and it's had just over 9,000 hits on YouTube, which is brilliant. So yeah, it certainly affected the UK community as well, because he made the UK MMA community, because he made some comments not just about Cain but about MMA in general. I think he said they do MMA because they can't box. They're gay. They roll around on the floor. They tickle each other. So he got quite a response. I know James Thompson was insulted, and he went back and forth with Tyson on Twitter, and Michael Bisping did as well. And I got a couple of guys come and speak to me, and I did a recording with them. I had a UK heavyweight, Paul Taylor, who's a friend of the show, and he come on and talked about it. And I had Bradley Scott as well, Tough Smashes runner up. He come on and talked about it as well. But realistically, do I think Tyson Fury is serious? Do I think he thinks he can beat Cain Velasquez? I suppose being a fighter, you have to be confident. I don't think he really, really thinks he could beat Cain Velasquez, if I'm being honest. I also think that if he was serious, he would be willing to work his way up. And to work his way up, that means starting on the UK scene and seeing how he's squared off against some of the top UK heavyweights. And I think the truth be told, they're not a big enough name for him as a boxer, and he wouldn't get past them. If he came up against like one of my friends, Paul the Titan Taylor, or James Thompson, or UFC level like Phil DeFries or Rob Broughton, they're all gonna take him down, and they're all gonna beat him on the ground. It's simple as that.
Yeah, man. First off, I want to say congratulations for your exposure you guys are getting. I mean, it's unbelievable, pretty cool thing, and I think that it's only the sky's the limit for you guys as well as us. But getting back to the topic at hand, I mean, Tyson Fury. Never heard of him. We talked about it last week. Dave said that exact sentence. I had never heard of him before this. So, yeah, he's just trying to get his name out there, trying to get exposure. Of course he doesn't want to fight Velasquez in a mixed martial arts fight. He would get absolutely savaged in that fight. So, yeah, it's for publicity for himself. Can't blame him for it, but I think it's pretty stupid at the same time.
Yeah, I had to pretty much think that, it was part work for him. He went and channeled his inner child son in there, but you can't blame the guy. It was a hell of a funny interview. I was laughing my ass off just listening to him talk about shit. I was really waiting for him to say, I train UFC, but, he said he trained K1, so that's almost as good. The thing with him is that he definitely was just trying to make a name for himself there, trying to get recognized. I'm getting lost for words with this one, but it would be freaking hysterical to see the fight ever go down. It never would, because I don't think Dana would go in that route again for after what happened with the Tooney fight, but it would be funny as hell to see.
Tyson Fury is a joke, but I want to thank him right now for the laugh, and thank you, MMA Mental, for the laugh. I had such a great time on that one. This guy, Tyson Fury, he broke into James Toney's apartment in Queens, and he stole his playbook. This is ridiculous. Tyson Fury must be broke or something. Why is it that you always see boxers calling out MMA, but you never see MMA fighters calling out boxers? Except for, if you count, when Nick Diaz said that Mayweather couldn't stop the double leg. But yeah, this guy, Tyson Fury, is the James Toney. I say that the UFC sign him today, right now, and fucking give him the James Toney treatment. I'd pay money to see that happen. This guy Tyson Fury. He was saying, I think Ray was like, "What are you gonna do to stop Kane's wrestling?" And then the takedowns. And Tyson said something like, "I'm just gonna use an uppercut." Like, all right, let's see it, man. I'll pay money to see that. So Uncle Dana, if you're listening, I know you are. Sign Tyson Fury for one fight. Just a little co-main or something. Just a little joke fight. Just as a goof for the fans. You always do what the fans want. We want to see this fight. Let's make it. Word.
Tyson Fury versus Cain Velasquez, that's not a fight. That's a snuff film. The only thing that'll happen to Tyson Fury in that fight is him getting beat out of him by Cain Velasquez. It's an obvious PR grab. Cain's got the heavyweight title now. He's getting all the media push from the UFC, from the MMA community. Here he is, he's not even calling out the top guys in his sport. He wants to call out the top guy in mixed martial arts. It makes no sense beyond just being a publicity stunt. I'm with Ramsey, though. I'd love to see that fight. I like seeing Cain Velasquez in the ring just beating the piss out of people, and that's certainly what would happen if he fought Tyson Fury.
Yeah, I think all of us agree Fury wouldn't have a chance, but it was an insanely entertaining interview. If you haven't checked it out yet, go to MMAmental.com. He's got it posted up there, and we'll get this bitch to 10,000 soon. Talking about fighters coming, wanting to come over from other promotions. Tyson Fury is talking about coming over from another sport. This isn't as extreme. We're talking about Eddie Alvarez coming over from Bellator. And if you're not aware with the situation, Bellator has a lot of contracts where they have an option to match, which means, say Eddie Alvarez wants to leave, the UFC offers him a contract. Bellator can match all the stipulation, the money, the pay-per-view cuts, etc., and be able to retain Eddie Alvarez. And right now, Alvarez and Bellator CEO Bjorn Rebney, who is the son of the Winnebago Man, which if you haven't seen that, YouTube
Jack
that
Rebney.
shit, Jack Rebney. But Alvarez and Rebney are in a bitter contract dispute, saying completely different things. Bjorn Rebney is saying that the offer they put out was word for word exactly the same as UFC's, and Eddie Alvarez was saying no, it's not, and he compared the two contracts to somebody trying to take him to a fine restaurant and another person trying to take him to McDonald's because dinner's dinner. Obviously, the documents haven't been released yet, so both sides are making their own case for it. Like I said, Alvarez saying it's different, Rebney saying it's the same. Obviously, one of them's lying, one of them's stretching the truth, and the other one's just getting fucked. Which side do you currently believe is telling the truth in this whole dispute? And I think it's got to be Alvarez, because if Rebney was telling the truth and the terms were the exact same, I don't see why Alvarez would be making such a big stink other than wanting to come over to the UFC, which if he just wanted to do that, then he wouldn't be making the argument as to both contracts being different. Rebney's sort of been known to play with fighter contracts a little bit, not necessarily look out for the fighter in a lot of cases. There was something going on with Tyson Nam where it looked like he was locked in something that wasn't that good for his own career. So yeah, I sort of believe the Eddie Alvarez side is a little bit more truthful than the Rebney and the Bellator side of it. But what do you guys think is going on in this? Which side are you tending to believe more than the other?
Well, I'm tending to side on. Every single side has their own truths. Media that releases information about this dispute, they're going to be slanted towards. They're going to be biased towards what they want to express. So it's hard to know exactly what's going on. But if you look at Bellator's track record and shadiness, they've been pretty shady with contracts. There was actually a point where the UFC came out and said that Bellator was using UFC contracts to a T. Like they basically took the platform or the style of contracts that the UFC uses and basically deleted UFC and put Bellator on it. So they're well known for that. What really sucks is that we're not really going to know, and I don't know if you guys know this, but there was I believe Bloody Elbow or MMA Mania story that came out that said that it wasn't exactly matched, and they had information on it. It was an updated story where they said that obviously Bellator can't match the pay-per-view points, so what they put on the table to make it kind of intriguing and a good option for Eddie was he would have 3 gigs involving hosting shows on Spike TV. The reality show, he would be an announcer or commentator for certain things. He would be a host of shows. So they kind of gave him this olive branch that was what they felt was similar to what the UFC was offering. It doesn't matter who's right. What really sucks is that we all enjoy Eddie Alvarez. We all think he's a premier lightweight, and to keep this guy, in his prime, just on the shelf for up to a year while this is, battled out, I think that's the worst part of this story.
Yeah, I'm thinking that Eddie's telling the truth here. Like Jake mentioned, why would he really have to lie about it? Bjorn, maybe he just started getting a little tongue-tied, and I don't know, maybe he's just really realizing that his best fighter's leaving him now. So I don't know, maybe it's just desperation. Who knows? Maybe his words got taken out of context. Who really knows with this situation? It's definitely messy as hell. Excuse me. It's hurting Alvarez's career because he's just sitting there. It's not like he was injured, and the guy is pretty much in his prime right now, and we're not seeing him fight. So this just sucks all around, honestly.
Yeah, I got to say, I don't think Eddie Alvarez was lying. He looked pretty honest. He came out there and he's giving interviews. You don't see anybody else doing that. But the longer this goes on, the better the UFC ends up looking. Bellator is just shooting itself in the foot right here, arguing, suing their own fighters. Even the fighter embarrassed them in the MMA community with that whole McDonald's versus lobster dinner thing. Bellator is going to lose on this one in the end, no matter what. There's no way they can match the UFC. That's why the UFC is the UFC. But I think Dana White and them, they should just say enough, eat the lawsuit for Eddie, and throw him in the fucking ring as soon as possible. I'm not sure. They made their point. It's all. There's no need for an ugly, drawn-out court battle. You don't have to shelve Eddie. Just eat the lawsuit. It's not like they don't have the fucking money and it's not going to pay off. I mean, just eating the lawsuit alone for Eddie, and the fact that it would have just embarrassed and put the nail in the coffin for Bellator that much more, that alone is worth whatever the lawsuit is going to cost. So yeah, just get him over to the UFC already. This is embarrassing everybody, and it's not good for MMA. Period.
Yeah, this it's. I think it's just getting blown out to more than what it should be. It's been mentioned before. I mean, anything Bellator could offer really can't match what the UFC is. Would you rather be commentating on Fox, which can be seen on rabbit ears, or would you rather be commentating on Spike TV, which everybody hates as a channel? It's just a black hole of entertainment. There's nothing there. Bellator and K1, that'll be good, but beyond that, no one watches that channel. The pay-per-view, they can't match that. It doesn't make any sense. Bellator, they just need to cut their losses, drop the lawsuit, not waste any more money on any high-priced lawyers, because Zuffa and the Fertitas, they got that casino money. They don't care. People come in and they pay their court fees daily. It's nothing to them. They just need to cut and run.
I just want to see Eddie Alvarez in the UFC. It's one of those things. I mean, he's been one of the top guys outside of the UFC for a long time now. And one of the best things for me when the UFC has absorbed a promotion like we've seen with Pride and WC and Strikeforce is getting those fights that we thought we weren't going to see. We all want to see the best fight the best. So I just want this, whatever's going on between Bjorn Rebney and Eddie Alvarez in UFC, I just want it sorted so we can get to see the fights. And we have seen Rebney be greedy before, like you said about the Tyson Nam. I mean, we spoke to Tyson Nam around the time it was all going on. So yeah, I just want to see Eddie Alvarez in the UFC. To be honest with you, it's gone on for too long now. There's so many good fights for Eddie Alvarez.
I feel the exact same way as a UFC fan, and the UFC lightweight division's getting so stacked. I just want to see him thrown in the mix, see how he fares with all these lions at the 155-pound position in the UFC. Before we move on to our last bit of news, we have some breaking news coming in the last 15 minutes. Thanks for Ray for giving me a heads up on this. Ruzimir Palhares and Joey Beltran both popped with 9-month suspensions following UFC on FX Soteropoulos vs. Pearson down in Queensland, Australia. You had Palhares testing positive for elevated testosterone levels. Joey Beltran testing straight out positive for the banned substance nandrolone. Both of them are going to serve 9-month suspensions, retroactive to that fight, which was this past December 14th. So they'll be on the rack until, I guess, September 14th of this year. We all remember Ruzimir Palhares lost his fight, so that won't have any bearing on that fight. But Joey Beltran defeated Igor Pokrayek via unanimous decision at light heavyweight, and that bout's been turned to a no contest. Talking about each individual case, nothing's really come out yet, so I don't know if there is enough to really address specifically Palhares or Beltran's situation, but something that's definitely there to talk about is if there is any answer to all these drug suspensions, you hear these crazy numbers thrown out, like 80% of the UFC is taking a banned substance, and these guys have just gotten really good at cycling off. Obviously, with Beltran testing positive for a banned substance and Palhares testing positive for elevated testosterone, neither of these guys did it right. And it's weird now that there are TRT medical exemptions, so you can have elevated T to E levels. I'm not sure whether the Palhares suspension was an elevated T to E level or just an elevated level of testosterone straight up. I think it's the T to E. I think that's the same thing. But yeah, what do you guys? I mean, is there any answer to getting these guys to stop testing positive? You know, it's hurt. It's really hurt title pictures. You have guys like Alistair Overeem going in testing positive and completely shaking up the heavyweight title picture. We would have had Overeem fighting Dos Santos before Kane if he hadn't tested positive. What do we do to sort of answer to all these suspensions going on? Is it out of fight and Olympic and random drug testing? Do we down the line start making these tests more lax so you can test positive for elevated testosterone and get TRT exemptions without a problem? What do we do to sort of tackle this issue that's really starting to rear its ugly head?
Well, I'll tell you one thing, man. One thing that you brought up about title fights and fights in general being canceled because of failed drug tests. I agree with you 100%. That pisses me off. It's just a real black eye in the sport. That being said, man, I think I'm on my own team when it comes to this stuff. It's in every single major sport. If you think those monsters in football or the Olympics aren't on stuff, you're kidding yourself. And even if you do blood testing, there's blood doping. Where there's a will, there's a way. They're going to find a way around these tests. And personally, I don't give a shit if these guys inject themselves with whatever they're doing, man, because all those guys that are natural, you know, BJ Penn, etc., that's their choice. At your local GNC, I've said it many times, you can pick up something that is molecularly, basically steroids. It's off by one molecule. So if you think that guys like GSP, who's never been popped, or all these other guys aren't on something, you're out of your mind. It's just a part of the sport at this point. And it's a way to really bring in money for the commissions. When they bust people for drugs, it's simply because it's going to bring the commissions money. Other than that, I don't see it as cheating, because steroids and all these things you're putting in your body, it's like tuning up a car. It's not going to make your car better, when it comes to fighting. Just because you take something, it's not going to help with your fighting ability. It's going to help you recover. It may give you a little more explosive strength. But I think at the end of the day, your heart and your warrior spirit is what really is the important thing when it comes to fighting. So I don't give a shit what they put in their body. I really don't.
I have to completely disagree with you there, Chris. I mean, you take that stuff and it makes you 100 times better. I mean, yeah, it doesn't really affect your skills on throwing punches and kicks, but it sure as hell makes you stronger at landing them when you connect and stuff like that. So, you definitely, it's either you make it legal or you keep it illegal, which they've been doing. And the way to sit there and crack it down now is like I always said too, is they gotta make these fines and stuff heavier to these fighters. Like, some of them get off pretty cheap. I mean, and these fighters only fight a couple times a year, and a lot of them don't have other jobs. They really rely on their fighting careers. You start hitting them in their pocketbooks a little bit harder. Maybe they'll think about it just a little bit more. That's one of the ways to go down. Another way to go down is you gotta get one athletic commission or one body of sanctioned rules on these guys, because all these different organizations, or not organizations, commissions have different rules and stuff, or this could slide under this way, and they don't test for this, they don't test for that. You got to hammer down and have one set of rules that everyone follows. But then, it gets tough there because each organization is different. It's not like the NFL where it's strictly, it's your big ticket right there. It would have to be like per organization, I would say maybe. But there's just something that has to be done where they all have to come together and really hammer this thing out.
I gotta say, I'm with Chris here. It's time to just stop kidding ourselves and let the juice loose. Almost all of them, are on it. Let's just let it be anything goes, and just see where that goes. Like, supposedly, Anderson Silva is a clean fighter, supposedly, but even he has managed to defeat a number of guys that have tested positive for juicing after they fought him, right after they fought him. So he's still winning. So I say let it loose, let the best man win. Who cares what the fuck they're doing to make their body to get their body to the point where it is on fight night. Let's just see what goes down once everybody's peaked, once everybody's there, in the best condition they can put themselves in. That'll be the ultimate fight, wouldn't it? Word.
This is such a hot topic. I can't even. I'm one of the people. I think in any sport, I like to see people do the best with their God-given abilities. Without having to shoot up steroids or even creatine. I'm not into that shit. Once you start getting to people where, like Chael Sonnen apparently a 16-1 testosterone to epitestosterone ratio after his first fight with Anderson Silva. When people start getting that juiced up, so many people have just had these ridiculous tests. When someone is going to get seriously hurt, not that it can't happen if everybody's coming in testing 1-to-1 or 4-to-1 or whatever, you want to make the accepted rate. It could happen no matter what. But it's just, for me personally, in the spirit of competition, I like to see clean athletes compete, and that's all I can really say about this subject. I think Dave hit on some good issues. If you hit him in the pocketbook, maybe that'll help to curb some of it. Maybe stepping up the testing. Who knows?
I agree a lot with what Patrick said. I like to see guys that have worked hard and have got where they've got by working hard, and then like you said about your natural gift. But yeah, I think it's always a bit of a dampener on the sport. But it's not just this sport; it is all sports. It's we're not the only sport that has failed drug tests, unfortunately. You say about hitting them in the pockets. It will hit them in the pockets because for 9 months now they can't fight, which is what they do to earn their money. So they do get hit in the pockets, and obviously that's not just the fight purses; it's the sponsorship as well. Who's going to sponsor these two guys now for the next 9 months? No one's going to be one associated. They're not going to be getting any press. They're not going to have banners around. So they're going to lose quite a bit of money off the back of this. Looking at their last two fights, Pal Harris, obviously he looked awful in that fight anyway, and we talked about that fight before. And I kind of said, I've always questioned his heart when he gets caught. But the Joey Beltran fight, we've spoke to Joey on our show, and he's such a nice guy, and he just leaves everything out there. And this fight with Igor Pogorelov was such a great fight. And the interesting thing was, after that fight, didn't he call somebody out that was injured or were not within their time span? But now that he's going to be out for 9 months, I bet they'll probably be coming back at the same time. I can't think who it was that he called out. It was somebody that had beat one of his training partners, and he called him out. So that'd be interesting to see if they do put that fight together. But yeah, it's a shame to see. Always a shame to see failed drug tests. But I think I'll miss seeing Joey Beltran fight more personally out of the two.
Certainly, yeah. It's something that's really hurt a lot of guys. It'll hurt more guys in the future. Whether the answer is letting it loose, letting the juice loose, toning it down a little bit. We still are sort of in the infancy of this science, so we don't know if we start juicing people up, if they're going to die off young, if we don't start juicing people up, if it's just going to become more of a self-aggregating problem because everyone's doing it, and to keep up with the best, you have to do it as well. Sort of like the concussions issue is something that's going to be very interesting, looking forward to down the road. And for our final news topic before we do the Bonehead of the Week and go over that Strikeforce finale, I know one person on the roundtable is very pumped about this matchup. You have the Thug Jitsu master, Eve Edwards. Our buddy Ramses is an honorary Thug Jitsu black belt, matched up against the Strikeforce veteran, Isaac Valley Flag. I think a lot of people thought that Edwards deserved a little bit more of a matchup after finishing Jeremy Stevens the way he did. Does Valley Flag deserve the fight? Coming over from Strikeforce, didn't really have any wins as impressive as Edwards knocking out Stevens. And, does he deserve the fight? And who do you have in the fight? I have Edwards. He looked outstanding in that fight against Jeremy Stevens. Isaac Valley Flag is probably good enough to stay in the UFC for a few years at least, but I don't see him getting past Edwards.
Yeah, I don't understand this one either. Another head-scratching matchup. Edwards goes and takes out Jeremy Stevens, and he gets this guy. It's just better to use Edwards, I guess. It's easy win for him.
Oh man, I won't even make the obvious joke about this guy's last name. Valley Flag? Isaac Valley Flag? I won't even make the joke about his last name because I don't make fun of retarded people. And anyone who signs the dotted line to fight my Thug Jitsu master Eve Edwards is not brave. They are straight up retarded for thinking they can stand up to a guy who dodges bullets in the mean streets of Austin, Texas. Shout out. This Valley Flag guy, he's like 13-3. I looked up his record, of course. That's a great record, whatever, 16 fights. But there's a big difference between 16 and 60. And Eve Edwards is going to show everyone again what that difference is. This fucking Valley Flag guy, he's coming out of Greg Jackson's MMA or whatever, so he's probably going to try to run around the octagon and point fight the whole time, but you can't run from Eve Edwards. You can't run from the Thug Jitsu Valley Flag. I just have one question. What you going to do when Thug Jitsu? Word on the street.
Word on the cul-de-sac.
Damn. Powerful stuff. Does Flag deserve this fight? Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, heck, he's brave enough to sign on the dotted line and fight Eve Edwards, so that makes him deserving right there. Who do I got in this fight? As far as that's concerned, I got to go with Eve Edwards. I really, to be honest, I have no clue who this other guy is. I watched Strikeforce, whenever they put on a card, but I couldn't pick this guy out of a lineup. So I can't rightfully go against the Thug Jitsu master, even if this guy's coming out of Greg Jackson's camp. I'm going with Eve Edwards.
I don't know his opponent either. Obviously, I know Eve Edwards. He's been a brilliant fighter for a long, long time. I've been watching him in the early UFCs, and he's still going now, which is awesome. But yeah, I've never heard of the guy he's facing, so it's very hard to pick Valley Flag when I've not seen any of his fights. I mean, obviously, I'll do a bit of research on him to see what he's about. But the only thing with Eve Edwards is because of how well-rounded he is. Do you go for a knockout or do you go for a submission? Because he's one of these guys that can do both.
Yeah, does he deserve it? I don't know a single thing about the guy. I didn't do any research, and instead of kind of just going back over what you guys said, I'm just going to say for Eve Edwards, it's a high-risk, low-reward fight. A no-name guy who's never fought in the UFC, and Eves has had multiple runs with the promotion. So I don't see why they made it. I think after knocking out Jeremy Stevens cold, first guy to do it, Cerrone couldn't do it, Pettis couldn't do it, Eves did it. Why would they give him some chump that nobody knows about? So ultimately I'd say, no, he doesn't deserve it.
Yeah, I think all of us are kind of in agreement here that Edwards is the better opponent in this and should be able to win the fight. Before we start talking about the Strikeforce fights, you guys ready for Bonehead of the Week?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Alright, I guess as always, I'll lead off the Bonehead of the Week discussion. And you know what? I do love Ustream. We haven't had too many problems with them. Obviously, much better than Blog Talk Radio. But, I love you guys, but I gotta give you guys my award for Bonehead of the Week for that Invicta 4 mess-up. It apparently was the biggest pay-per-view buy in Ustream history, $7.95 to see these women fight this past Saturday. And Ustream dropped the ball. Their servers were not ready. They had tons of technical issues. I'm not sure whether refunds were given out or not, but it was not a pretty thing. Ustream kind of dropped the ball there. They should be dealing with Invicta in the future. I don't think Invicta is going to drop them. But to be doing a pay-per-view event and sell all these buys and not be able to stream it, that's embarrassing. Ustream, you're my bonehead.
Yeah, that's a good one. UFC and Bellator is my bonehead of the week. I feel that this steal the beacon game they're doing with Eddie Alvarez's career is, there's no honor in it, man. I mean, it's all over, dollars and numbers, and if Eddie can't see that at this point, having these two promotions fight over him, I mean, basically, he's just a commodity to these guys. I mean, there doesn't seem to be much respect. Yeah, they're fighting over him, so they obviously want him in there, but they're willing to keep him, out of fighting, being an active fighter for possibly a year while they contend this in court. And that in itself should tell Eddie that they don't care about his prime. He's in his prime right now. So for me, UFC and Bellator, you guys are boneheads in keeping this guy out of the cage. Settle out of court.
To continue on with Chris's bonehead, my bonehead is none other than Bajor Remedy for the same exact reasons Chris just mentioned. One of the things I forgot to mention when we were talking about this was that I forget which site it was. Like Chris mentioned too, it was like MMA Mania or Bloody Tampon. I mean, the Elbow.
Heyo.
One of them had something to do with the story, and I remember seeing something that Eddie had a phone conference with Bajorn, and as soon as Bajorn was talking with him, all of a sudden Eddie brings Eddie's down there with like 6 lawyers or something like that, and Bajorn's whole entire like change of tone and everything changed, and so this whole mess is nothing bad. This is also hurting Bellator too, because it's setting a red flag for fighters to go over there now. Like, this is the mess you get into if you end up having a great career with these guys. Look what you have to look forward to when the contract renewal comes up if you're thinking of jumping ship to the UFC or any other organization. Now this is what you have to deal with. So yeah, Bajorn, you are my bonehead of the week.
Powerful choices. My choice for bonehead of the week this week is Benson Henderson. He's the UFC lightweight champ. Everybody loves him. He loves him some Jesus. He's a good boy, but you know what? He can't seem to just stop putting out these bitchy tweets. His last bitchy tweet was something about how he only made 70 some odd grand for his most recent title defense. I'm not sure if that was in comparison to Hector Lombard's contract or Eddie Alvarez's offer from the UFC. But the thing is, every single fight he's won in the UFC has been a decision. Yeah, he's put on some good shows, I guess. I mean, if you count losing twice to Frankie Edgar and getting those called wins, and a just boring as fuck fight with Clay Guida. But he keeps bitching about his money. He needs to finish a goddamn fight. Eddie Alvarez is going to get offered more money than him because he's willing to go out there and brawl. Eddie Alvarez gets rocked in every single fight he's in, but that's because he's willing to go out there and put it on the line and go for a fucking finish. He's going to bring more eyes. He's going to bring more pay-per-view buys. They're investing in who's going to make them money. Benson Henderson is just not a money-making champ for them at the moment. So he's my bonehead of the week.
I think we have a bit of Nate Diaz fan on the show today. Right, my bonehead of the week is none other than the man of the moment, Tyson Fury, for some of his quotes in my interview, like "I train K1," and "How are you going to stop the takedowns? I'll use takedown defence. I can throw punches from everywhere. I'll fight in a ring, in a cage. I'll scratch, I'll bite." Brilliant. So Tyson Fury, if he genuinely believes he could beat Cain Velasquez, then he's my bonehead of the week.
That was a good one. I'll use takedown defense. My bonehead of the week, and I did some research here. We're 10 days into the year 2013, and so I picked this bonehead because so far no one has made fun of him this year that I know of. Greg Jackson. Greg Jackson's MMA. Coach Greg Jackson. The great one. He is my bonehead of the week and of the year. I'll just call it right now. Just because Greg Jackson's MMA, we're sick of your point fighting, and your fucking running around, running away from opponents. That tactic is getting old. The statistics for 2012, 70% of Jackson's MMA fighters won by decision. Okay, nobody wants to see a fucking decision, dude. Nobody wants to. The fans don't like decisions, right? Unless it's like a Shogun versus Henderson decision. That's a fucking good fight that you go to the judges with, and who gives a fuck who won? That fucking Griffin versus Bonner shit. Not this fucking point fighting shit where it's a unanimous decision for one of Jackson's MMA fighters. Like, when was the last time you said, "Damn, that was a damn good unanimous decision fight"? It doesn't happen. Sorry, Greg Jackson, you're the bonehead of the week. God, do something about it, man.
Do something, cocksucker. Word on the street. I think my bonehead's got to be Tyson Fury Ray made some waves with MMA Mental having him on to talk stupid shit. If you're gonna make if you're gonna garner attention for something that's not a complete and utter joke. At least when Sonnen was getting all this attention about shit talking about Anderson Silva, Sonnen had a legitimate chance to beat Anderson Silva. Tyson Fury talking shit about Cain Velasquez is like me talking shit about Cain Velasquez, because Cain Velasquez is gonna serve us both our asses in a fucking paper sack. Tyson Fury, you're my bonehead.
Wow, powerful. I'm going to have to go with Greg Jackson. Love him or hate him, I respect him, so I'm not going for him. Tyson Fury, that's the easiest bonehead of the week by far. I'm going with Tyson Fury.
I'm following order. I'm definitely going Tyson Fury too. That shit was just hilarious.
Make it 4. Tyson Fury. He's something. That boy ain't right.
Even though no more votes are needed, I'm going to go for Ustream. I mean, dropping the ball on Invicta. Invicta are going places, and they're working so hard to be taken serious and to helping women's MMA grow, which is brilliant. And I know, again, one of the people we've spoke to was a big part of the show, Joanne Caldwell. She had another impressive win. But if you're going to do something if you're going to have a promotion like that on, give them the respect they deserve, and don't balls it up. So I'm going to give Ustream my bonehead of the week.
Yeah, it was definitely overall the bonehead of the week, Mr. Tyson Fury, a guy who I'd actually probably heard his name before, but I'd never really heard his name before. He's the bonehead of the week, definitely. He is the new James Toney. He's the poor man's James Toney. He is also the guy who punched himself in the face. So for that reason alone, bonehead, word
on the street. I think this is the first landslide vote for our Bonehead of the Week, and if anyone deserves it, it is Tyson Fury, winning Bonehead of the Week 5-1. The only reason he didn't get 6 votes is because we can't vote for our own Bonehead. Pretty much a unanimous decision for the Bonehead of the Week, Tyson Fury. Why are you going to call out the baddest man on the planet, son? That's just not a good look. Let's move on to the Strikeforce card, and before we go fight by fight down the line, you've got a lot of mismatches on this card. A lot of people pulled out, a la Melendez and Rockhold. People calling them out as, people like, well, they just didn't want to lose in the finale and not be brought over to the UFC, which makes sense. But yeah, a lot of lopsided fights on this card, and it's starting to, people are starting to ask, is this the most lopsided card in major MMA history? I seriously, looking at main event and co-main event only, I remember when we had Anderson Silva fight Stephan Bonner and Glover Teixeira fight Fabio Maldonado on a main and co-main. That was pretty lopsided, but top to bottom, this is a lopsided-ass card. It's the most lopsided card I can think of. Can anyone else think of anything more lopsided, or do you think this is the most lopsided card in, recent MMA history? David?
Oh, sorry. The whole ending of Strikeforce has been nothing but a mess, so why not have the last card be a mess as well? It's shame what happened that, they're trying to go out with a bang and they're going out on the biggest whimper you can imagine. The only thing we hope for is great fights Saturday night, which who knows what we'll see. I mean, what the hell? Just finally, I guess it's over.
Of course, it's the most lopsided card that we've seen in a while. Let's face it, the only way Strikeforce could even keep these fighters on to even show up is if they guaranteed them some quick, easy layup gimme fights, all right? That's what we're going to see here. Josh Barnett, he has the most... Well, I'm sure we'll get into it later, but this fucking... The only way they could get these fighters to stay on was by just giving them layups, all right? I haven't seen this many layups since I don't even watch basketball. Someone help me with a Celtics reference and white people, something like that. layups,
Stockton,
right? All
Karl
over the
Malone.
place.
I don't know.
Larry Bird.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Bird, and everybody, Malone, everybody. I love you to death out there in the NFL. Everybody. Is it lopsided? Hell yeah. But are we all gonna watch it? Yeah, I think it's even free if you've got cable. And we're gonna see some ass stompings. That's the best thing. I guess that's the only good thing when it is a one-sided fight. You're gonna see the ass beating of a lifetime uncorked. By whichever fighters are on it. So, yeah, it's a good thing. It'll be a good way for Strikeforce to go out. It's fitting. They're not kidding anybody. It's a bunch of whatever good fighters are left against a bunch of cans. We'll have fun watching it. We'll talk about it. Awesome.
There will certainly be some can crushings on Saturday. It's going to be ridiculous. When was the last time we had more mismatches? That depends. When was the last time Strikeforce put on a show? It's all they've ever done. At least for the past few years, this is why they're going out of business in the first place. The Dan Henderson versus Babalu 2 card, that right there was just unnecessary. Combined with such fantastic mismatches, the likes of Robbie Lawler versus Matt Lindland. Are you fucking kidding me? Matt Lindland got knocked out by Vitor Belfort and didn't wake up until 5 minutes before that fight. There's no athletic commission in the world should have sanctioned that fight to go on. Strikeforce, they were legit for a moment, but that moment faded quickly. I'm glad they're gone. UFC is going to pick up their scraps, and let's see how they can do.
I'm not really bothered about this card. I just want this card over with so that Strikeforce is then part of UFC. I mean, you look at some of the guys on the card, and there is some genuinely good fighters on the card. They're just not matched up that great. But, when you look at I want to see Jacare, I want to see Mousasi, I want to see Barnett, I want to see Cormier, I want to see Nate Marquardt, I want to see all those guys in the UFC. That's where they should be. And I just hope that they do the right thing and get them all in as soon as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of hit or miss with Strikeforce. I feel that they put on some really good shows. But at the end of the day, they had pyrotechnics. They had 20 ring girls. Their announcing team was fucking god-awful. I mean, Gus Johnson, Frank Shamrock was okay. Obviously, Pat Miletich is great. But Mauro Ranallo I find very annoying. I mean, it sounds like he's scraping a bunch of cats with nails while he talks. It's just really annoying tonight. Yeah, I hated the announcing team that they had for that. And, I just felt like
powerful.
Production-wise, it was a nightmare. Like Patrick had said, the fights that they put on were usually mismatches. I thought that they were definitely a decent organization for its time. But as far as it being lopsided, yeah, not much else I can say. Of course it is. I mean, it's not like they have evenly matched talent because they can't afford the kind of talent that is out there that the UFC can.
Certainly, yeah. And really quick, I'll go over all the prelims. We're only going to break down the 5 cards of the main card. But in the prelims, unaired, you're going to have 2 fights, Michael Bravo versus Estevan Payan, and George Gurgel versus Adriano Martins. And on the Showtime Extreme prelim, we're going to have 4 fights, Ryan Couture fighting KJ Nunes, Tim Kennedy taking on Trevor Smith, Roger Gracie taking on Anthony Smith, and Pat Healy taking on Kurt Holobaugh. Holobaugh, something like that. You have a few pretty good names on the prelim card there. Pat Healy, Tim Kennedy, Roger Gracie, Couture, and Nunes. I'll definitely be trying to catch the prelim and the main card fight, but we'll move on to the main card fight. And in the first fight of the night, we're going to have a catchweight bout at 194 pounds between the American Ed Herman and the Brazilian Ronaldo Souza. Jacare is probably, aside from the champions and the big names like Daniel Cormier, he's really one of the top guys that a lot of fans are looking forward to come over and fight in the octagon. Really looked a lot more two-dimensional early on in his career. Obviously, he's known for his jiu-jitsu acumen first and foremost, a black belt in both BJJ and in judo, won the gold medal at the ADCC world championships in 2005 and 2009, taking silver in 03 and 2011. Really known more for his submissions, won 12 of his 16 fights by submission, but recently his stand-up's been looking a lot better. He defeated Tim Kennedy back in 2010 by decision, where most of the fight he just, really dominated the fight standing up. He got his first finish by punches in his last fight this past August against Derek Brunson, winning the fight 40 seconds into the first round. Looked amazing. I think Herman definitely is a good fighter, also a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He's very technical, but I don't know if his knowledge and his technicality is going to be enough to get over Jacare standing up. And obviously on the ground, you aren't going to see many guys that Jacare doesn't overpower. So for those reasons, I think we see another finish. Maybe, I don't know whether it's going to be on the feet or on the ground, and more likely than not, it'll be a decision because Herman is very good at not being finished. Thinking back, I think his last few losses are by finish. So Herman gets choked out in the second round, rear naked choke. That'll be my call. What about you guys? Herman versus Jacare.
I gotta be honest, my Strikeforce knowledge is pretty weak. Well, anybody that's not in the UFC, I gotta say, my head is so far up the UFC's ass it ain't even funny. But I have seen both of them fight before. I remember Jacare being impressive, but Ed Herman seems more solid. I believe he's had the better run lately. Jacare, he's kind of seems like he might be fading here and there. I can't really make a call on this one, but I'll go with Ed Herman just because from what I remember, the fights I've seen him in, he looked more impressive overall. So I'll just go with Ed Herman. That's all I got.
I find this fight kind of tough to call. It's a good replacement, a good fight for Souza. I think Ed Herman, he really does have a good upset chance here. At the same time, the only thing that gives me pause is Ed Herman's last fight against Jake Shields. I think Souza has some really accomplished grappling, similar on the level of Jake Shields, and I like his striking better. I think he's got a little bit better. He's got like a more Muay Thai style, definitely a better striker than Jake Shields. That's for fuck sure. And he's got the great grappling to go with it. We've seen Ed Herman prone to lose by submissions. It's just tough because Ed Herman did look really good. He had a 3-fight winning streak going into that fight with Jake Shields. Jake Shields tested positive for some sort of banned substance. We don't know what. So a lot of factors coming into this one. I will go with Jacare by submission, though.
Yeah, I was going to say that Ed Herman's last fight was against Jake Shields. I mean, I like Ed Herman, and I think he's quite an exciting fighter to watch, but it was frustrating watching him against Shields because it was clear he had the advantage in the striking, and as soon as he clinched with Shields, no matter where, Shields just had the advantage and he was just pushing him around the cage. But for some reason, Ed Herman would throw punches, then clinch. It was just terrible to watch. If the fight stays upstanding, I think Ed Herman's got a good chance of keeping his distance and getting a unanimous decision. But I just think Jacare is going to be able to get him down. And it's whether Ed Herman could survive. I could see Ed Herman surviving for 3 rounds and Jacare kind of wrestling his way and using his jiu-jitsu to get himself a unanimous decision. So I'd be going for Jacare decision.
Yeah, this is kind of a hard one to call because Ed Herman does really have an awesome skill set. I mean, his last 3 fights, he knocked out Tim Crater. He dominated. What's his face? The Aussie. Help me out, somebody.
Kyle Noak.
There you go, Kyle Noak. Submitted Noak. So obviously he's multifaceted. But if you look at kind of UFC talent level, Jacare knocked out Derek Brunson with 1 shot. Derek just dominated Chris Lieben. I think that Ed Herman is kind of similar to Lieben. They both have submissions. They both have knockouts. But what somebody brought up is that I think that Ronaldo Jacare Souza is of a different class. I mean, he went 5 rounds with Luke Rockhold, for the love of God. So, he's just a beast. He's known as being able to pull himself up with one arm on a rope. I mean, that's just some crazy strength that you have. He's an accomplished grappler. I definitely have Souza in this one, most likely by a submission. If Damian Maia could do it, I think a Jacare is more than capable of doing the exact same thing.
For sure, interesting takes. We'll oh wait,
yeah,
Chris,
sure, keep going.
Yeah, shit, I pulled a Chris and cut you off, Dave. God damn it. Go ahead, buddy.
See, it's not just me.
All right, well, I really don't have nothing else to add than it was already said, so I guess coming off wouldn't be so bad. I definitely see Jacare winning here, too. I might be silent right here. I think this will go to decision. Herman does have 5 submission losses to his career. I think it's been since 2008. Yeah, 2008 was his last submission loss. So, we're looking at it quite a long time since the guy's been submitted. The rest have been decision loss and a TKO loss. Jacare definitely is no joke. Herman, he has a little bit of a chance, but I wouldn't give him much of a one. Should be an interesting fight, though. It might even get fight of the night.
For sure, yeah, it really could. It'll be an interesting match to see how Souza and Herman's styles match up against each other. Moving on, we got a light heavyweight bout against Gegard Mousasi and Mike Kyle. Mike Kyle with a K. Both of these guys have been doing really well recently. Kyle has lost 1 fight in his last 9. He's 6-1 with 2 no contests against Travis Wolff and Rafael Cavalcante. Gegard Mousasi in his last, I think, something crazy. I think in his last 21 fights, he's lost 1 time, and that was the Strikeforce light heavyweight title match against Muhammad Lawal. And he has 1 draw, the kind of head scratcher draw to Keith Jardine, which he would have won if not for an illegal upkick. Gegard has, for being 27, he has amassed a very impressive record. He's 32-3-2, sort of on that short list with Jacare as far as guys I'm really looking forward to seeing the octagon. The way they match up against each other, standing up, Kyle is a good boxer, puts good jabs and counters together, but Mousasi is extremely well versed and a very smooth kickboxer too. I think standing up, Gegard has the edge, so it's going to go to Mike Kyle's side, and he's going to need to impose his wrestling. And Mousasi's last fight against OSP, didn't beat him, but he showed that Mousasi definitely has some holes in his wrestling defense game. In my opinion, it's going to come down to whether Mike Kyle can sort of take Mousasi down and keep him down. If he is, I have a Mike Kyle unanimous decision. If he isn't able to sort of keep that game plan going, if Gegard is able to keep the fight standing, I give it to Gegard by decision. So decision to whichever guy can choose what happens when Kyle tries taking him down. If Gegard can keep it away, he wins the decision. If not, I have Kyle winning the decision.
I think that's a pretty spot-on analysis, Jake. Mousasi, he's one of those guys, as good as his record is, I've never been super impressed with him. I don't know what it is. He's one of the most unimpressive guys that I've ever seen. He's got a good skill set, and I think it is one that should carry him to a victory over Mike Kyle. But I remember being Mike Kyle just being a big 205, and gosh, he actually fought at heavyweight against Antonio Bigfoot Silva, so I believe, would have the size and strength advantage in this one, as well as a perceived wrestling advantage. Mousasi's loss to Lawal was kind of contentious, considering it was almost a Miguel Torres, Demetrius Johnson type of fight, where Demetrius Johnson was holding Torres down, but Torres had an active guard, landing all these elbows. he really was landing all the offense in that entire fight, in spite of being on his back. And we have judges that can't recognize that, so that's where that loss comes from. And you never know how these fights are going to get judged. So be that as it may, that's where I think Mike Kyle has the chance in this fight. But yeah, I've got to take the dream catcher in this fight for sure. I'm thinking a unanimous decision.
This is another good fight. I mean, Mike Kyle is a very, very aggressive fighter. He likes to come forward and attack. And it wasn't that long ago that he fought Antonio Silva, who was a lot bigger than him, and he nearly put Antonio Silva out, but somehow Silva managed to turn it back round. I could see Kyle coming out aggressive and getting caught, and I've got a feeling that we could see Gegard Mousasi get a win early on and get an early TKO. I mean, I remember the only fight seen him lose recently was the one against Mohamed Lawal, and that was Lawal basically wrestle raped him. He just pinned him down for the distance of the fight. Wasn't a great fight, but Lawal couldn't do anything. And again, the Keith Jardine fight, that was just, that was clearly the wrong decision. It should have gone to Mousasi. But yeah, I can see Mousasi getting a round one TKO. I think Kyle will come out aggressive and Mousasi would catch him, counter-strike style.
Yeah, anyone who says that Mike Kyle has a chance in this fight, yeah, he's got a puncher's chance. He used to fight at heavyweight. You guys brought that up. But Mike Kyle's absolute garbage. He trains at a good camp, but he's hit or miss. He's known as a dirty fighter, biting, falling out of the cage, in a fight with James Irvin, attacking a guy after the ref stopped it. He's a mental midget who has good punching power, but has looked absolutely subpar. I mean, you brought up how he's looking, in his last 7 fights or 9 fights, but he got absolutely crushed by Rafael Cavalcante, and Gegard Mousasi was a top 10 middleweight before he moved up to 205. Crushed who was it? OSP, Owen St. Preux, absolutely crushed that guy. He's got amazing kickboxing, dangerous guard. He's going to beat Mike Kyle emphatically by a finish. Mike Kyle doesn't have a chance in this fight.
Yeah, I'm more on Chris's side. I definitely see this as a Mousasi victory pretty easily. The only concern I have for him is that the guy hasn't fought since December in 2011, so the ring rust will definitely play a factor here. It showed the other weekend in the UFC fight with a couple of guys, most notably Layman, who was off for a year. The ring rust definitely will play a factor. I think that gives Kyle a little bit more of a chance, other than his punch chance there. But overall, I think that Mousasi's going to win decision.
Mousasi, Mike Kyle. I gotta be honest with you guys. I had never heard of these people or watched them fight until I heard of them just right now, just listening to all of you. So I waited. I'm glad you all went first. If I have to pick, it sounds like you guys are going with this Mousasi guy, Mustafa. So we'll go with that guy. I don't know anything about these fighters. I do consider myself an MMA oracle, but who are these fucking guys?
You've never heard of Gegard Mousasi, really?
It's hard when you're a summon nut hugger, though.
Oh!
Is he a vet or something? Has he been in it just so long that
dream middleweight champion, former top 10 ranked middleweight dude, really, really high profile guy.
So he's burning out these days, is my guess, huh?
He's 27.
That tail end. Look, if they ain't in, what position in the card are they even fighting in?
I think the 4th fight from the bottom, but I mean,
man.
Kyle's one of these guys who, I could. All right, if you haven't heard of him, Mousasi was in Pride. He was the Dream Champion, like Chris said. I'm kind of shocked.
I'm ashamed of you.
I got nothing on these guys, man. Like I said, there's got to be a reason they're not in the UFC. That's all I'm saying. Word.
Yeah,
snap. Word on the street.
Word on the cul-de-sac.
One fight which I think we'll be able to breeze over before Ray does his fight busters and dips out. Ray is a beautiful man for staying on as late as he does UK time for the Roundtable. Stays on till 2, even though that man's got priorities, son. We probably won't need to spend too much time on Josh Barnett versus Nandor the Hun Guillermo. Barnett, he is, yes, Guillermo has a lot of finishes. I think he has 9 of his last 11 fights being finishes. There's a reason Nandor doesn't have a Wikipedia page. It's because he's only fought a bunch of cans. He's not nearly the fighter Josh Barnett is, and I'll spare you the verbose breakdown. Barnett is gonna slam him to the ground, get into full mount, and submit him however he wants to, or just beat his face in until the ref pulls him off. This is gonna be an easy first round finish.
Yeah, he's got a really fucking awesome first name. I might just name my firstborn son Nandor. That's a badass name.
Raymond? Is he still there?
Our little Ray?
I'm still here.
Raymond. Yeah, there he is.
Was it worth the wait?
Always.
This is when people talk about this fight being this card being the one-sided card. It's obviously the one-sided card. It's the heavyweight fights to jump out. I mean, there's so many good heavyweights in the UFC, but the best heavyweights are in the UFC. So outside the UFC, the only 2 real great heavyweights that you want to kind of see, that obviously not including the Bellator heavyweights, is Josh Barnett and Daniel Cormier. Now, they've both fought each other, so don't put these matches on. Get on both in the UFC. There's talk of Cormier going to light heavyweight. I don't know what he's going to do, but this is a pointless match. I've never heard of Nando Guillermo. Again, Barnett's hard to pick because he's one of these guys that could knock people out or submit. So I'm thinking Barnett first round knockout, but it's not a fight I'm overly fussed about.
Yeah, there's not much to say, but Barnett's just going to tool him. So, yeah.
Yeah, this was where I was talking about the lopsided thing, that just people being served up, fed to the wolves. King Nandor, oh man, I just hope they're paying him enough. Like, and I hope his insurance is good. I hope it covers being a can. I don't know about that, but Josh Barnett is going to stomp his ass, and then he's going to demand his UFC contract in the post-fight speech. Word on the street.
Oh shit!
You guys know what the Vegas odds are in this fight? I'm just wondering, just in case anybody doesn't know what the Vegas odds are on this fight.
I actually did pull them up, yeah, but
20
you
to
go
1.
ahead.
So this is like 17 to 1.
Yeah, Josh Barnett, last time I checked, he is a 16 to 1 favorite in this fight. You got to put down $1,600 to get back $100. And that pretty much says everything about the fight. Everything you guys said was spot on. This guy is just a can for the crushing. He is just a tomato ripe for being made into some fine marinara. I don't know how many analogies I can go through. Really, it's going to be great.
Wait. So you're saying Nandor is going to lose?
I'm saying put money on Nandor. No. Seriously, honestly, this is just it's a ridiculous fight. I love Strikeforce for putting these fights together. It's always fun watching someone just getting their fucking brains beat in, and that's what it's good for. But these are barely legitimate contests.
For sure. And Ray, before we let you go off to bed, I guess we're going to be breaking down the main and co-main without you, but you want to do the Fight Busters one more time before we send you off?
Absolutely, yeah. I'll read out the Fight Busters now, so that people can get inside my wonderful, wonderful mind.
It is pretty wonderful.
It is wonderful. Don't you forget it. Right, I've got three Fight Busters. They are cryptic clues. They mean absolutely nothing, but if you think outside the box, there will be a fighter hidden in there somewhere. They're all UFC fighters, and they're all scheduled to fight in the near future. Within the next 3 to 4 months, they're all scheduled to fight. So the first cryptic clue is, I have a weapon, do you want it for the big country? Cryptic clue number 2 is, Jerry's friend, pardon child. And cryptic clue number 3 is, stealing the cocoa.
So those are this week. Those are this week's MMA Mental Fight Busters. If you feel like you have the answer, tweet MMA Mental or the MMA Podcast and win yourself some swag. Ray, as always, it's been nice chatting with you, and we'll catch you on next week's Roundtable.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. See you all soon.
See you later, buddy.
Bye,
and MMA Mental. Oh, you didn't say mental at all this week. Damn it. All right, let us move on without our buddy from across the pond to break down the main and co-main event. Patrick, you were talking about Josh Barnett and Nandor being a crazy favorite. Obviously, you mentioned Cormier versus Sterling. In Vegas, at least, it's the biggest mismatch. Daniel Cormier, a 20-1 favorite. Even Cormier has done as much as saying that those odds were disrespectful to Dion Sterling. Sterling has won 9 of his last 10 fights, even though none of those wins are against notable opponents. I think he has more than a 20-1 chance. He trained with Golden Glory and with the Black Zillions as Alistair Overeem's main training partner, so he knows what it's like to take a hit. Aside from, we had Ryan Jimmo on, who's training with the Black Zillions and Sterling. When I asked him about Cormier versus Jones down the road, because he is a big MMA fan, he actually said, I wouldn't sleep on Dion Sterling, because he is his training partner. I'm not sleeping on him, but I don't see any way Sterling is able to win this fight. Cormier's proved both standing up. He has a mean set of fists. He knocked out Bigfoot Silva early in that fight in the first round. I just don't see wherever the fight goes. I think Cormier is going to have the advantage. Cormier is going to do whatever he wants. He's going to knock him out. He's going to pick him up and throw him out of the ring. We may even see a submission, which Cormier only has one submission, or he has 3 submissions on his record, but 2 of the 3 are submissions to punches. So he only has a jiu-jitsu technical submission, rear naked choke in 2010 at King of the Cage. He probably could get a submission if he wanted to. I think Cormier is just going to impose his will in his last fight before coming over to the big show, the UFC.
Yeah, Jake, you brought up a good point. I wouldn't sleep on Dion Sterling either, because then I would be slumbering on a guy, and that would be weird. But beyond that, who has this fight? I mean, Daniel Cormier is such a huge favorite, 20-1. I mean, I can't remember the last time that we've seen something like that. I mean, maybe it was Jones versus Belfort, something like that. But Dion Sterling, I think Dion will fare well early, but he's just not going to handle the pressure, the speed. I mean, Daniel Cormier is very Cain Velasquez-esque with his pressure, wrestling, grappling, and striking. So I definitely have Cormier in this fight as well. How it ends, I don't know. I've never seen Dion Sterling fight, so I'm going to have to just side with you and side with the general consensus that Daniel Cormier is going to win this fight.
Yeah, I'm not sleeping on him. I'm hibernating on this guy. I'm sorry. I mean, no disrespect to Sterling, but he's just going to get smashed by Cormier. I mean, talking about one of the best prospects. I don't even know if you call him prospect anymore, because I think he's established enough and has proven what he can do. I mean, the sky's the limit for Cormier. I mean, I don't know. His set and just the way he fights is masterful. I really feel bad for Sterling. I think he's going to be in a world of hurt. Jake brought up he trains with the Black Zillions. Doesn't really change my mind at all. I mean, look at Leonard Garcia. He trains with Greg Jackson, and he's still a horrible fucking fighter. So, yeah, Cormier's just going to demolish him.
Now, this is a guy that I've actually heard of before, Cormier. And he ain't in the fucking UFC. That says a lot, and that says enough, and that says it all. It is going to be one-sided ass smashing. It's going to be a rape scene. I feel bad for this Dionne Warwick, whoever starring, whoever the fuck it is that I've never heard of. It's over. This is a fight that I'll actually tune in to see. I don't know about the other ones on the card. I might be, just fixing myself something to eat, maybe grabbing a drink, smoking some weed during those fights. But the Cormier one, I'm definitely going to sit my ass down, watch that shit happen. So I'm looking forward to that one. And of course, it's obvious who I got. Cormier. It'll probably make it look good. Probably slugfest till round 2. That's it.
Yeah, I'm on board with what everybody's saying tonight. This is going to be a showcase in the definition of the word for Daniel Cormier. I do like what Jake is hitting on, talking about how Cormier could very well get a submission in this, and that may be the route he wants to go, knowing that he has trained with Alistair Overeem, with the Golden Glory kickboxing team in the Netherlands, and with the Black Zillions down there in Florida. Both of those teams renowned for the striking that they have going on in those camps. So Cormier, he does have really solid striking himself, but he may want to use that Olympic level wrestling and just take this fool down. And if he doesn't tap the strikes, that'll probably leave him open for a submission of some type. So I think Daniel Cormier by finish is a good bet.
For sure, and that leaves us with the final match, the only actual heavyweight, the only actual championship bout on the line. Nate Marquardt taking on Tarek Saffiedine. Not sure where you put the emphasis on that one.
It's Tarek.
Nate Marquardt versus Tarek Saffiedine for the welterweight title. You know, it's the final welterweight championship is on the line, but more importantly, implications for UFC fights are on the line. This fight, not so much of a mismatch than the last two heavyweight bouts. I think Marquardt is a 3-1 favorite, but he is a 3-1 favorite for a reason. He's looked incredible since coming over to Strikeforce and fighting Tyron Woodley, who, you know, Woodley really put out a problem that he had in his previous two losses against Yushin Okami and Chael Sonnen, that he was losing to top wrestlers. Woodley's a top wrestler, and he got by him with flying colors. Straight up, just look at the people that Marquardt has fought. You have some of the who's who of mixed martial arts history. You have Anderson Silva, Martin Kampmann, Damian Maia, Chael Sonnen, Yushin Okami, Huzamir Palhares. He's fought a lot of people. Tarek Saffiedine, not really as I don't know what the word is, doesn't have as much of a legacy of fighting top guys. You know, I think Saffiedine, he does have a couple points that he might be able to take advantage of a little bit. I think he's generally a more accurate striker than Nate Marquardt, even though he isn't as powerful a striker. But, you know, sort of like a lot of these fights, whether the fight takes place on the ground or standing up, I think Marquardt has got the advantage. I think Tarek Saffiedine, I think Woodley is a better fighter than Saffiedine. We all saw that dirty uppercut and elbow that Marquardt delivered to Woodley. So I see this going down very similarly to that fight, maybe a second or third round knockout for Nate the Great Marquardt.
Yeah, finally we get a title fight, and it's not the best one because of all the other injuries. Saffiedine, you know, he's a decent fighter. I've seen him fight quite a few times. But as where he goes, the ranking against Marquardt, I mean, it's like taking a tough enough contestant and making him fight GSP, in my opinion. Saffiedine struggled with Woodley, and Marquardt just beat Woodley, who was looking good. And so, I mean, I don't get it. I mean, you know, Strikeforce is definitely really, really thin on fighters, so they had to kind of do this. Marquardt's definitely going to win. Definitely going to be later in the fight. I think he has a chance of getting a stoppage. Probably close to the end of the second round, if not third round.
Ramses?
Oh, I thought it was Patrick next. Sorry about that. Nate Marquardt, he actually looked really fucking good and impressive against Woodley, man. That was a crazy-ass fight. I watched it. And it takes a lot to get me, like I said, to watch a fucking Strikeforce event. But that fight was fucking great. Nate looked good. As long as he does that again in this fight, I mean, the guy, you know, it ain't exactly a can, but it's not, you know, it's not exactly the roughest challenge that he's ever had. So I think Nate Marquardt, he pulls this off, and I'm hoping he does, because I'd like to see him give the UFC another try, one more fucking run back there in the big league. He deserves it, especially after the fucking knocking Woodley out like that. That was very fucking impressive. even on the Strikeforce level. Coming from me, that's saying a lot. Nate Marquardt.
Yeah, Nate Marquardt, he's what I'd like to call the value bet on this card, coming in at just a 3-1 underdog here. Saffiedine, he's a quality opponent. I don't know that. God, I really don't know that he could hang at 170 in the UFC. Depends on how many low-level fighters they keep around in the UFC. At least in relative terms, if you will. Saffiedine, he's training with Team Quest. He's got a good camp. He's got a decent record, too. He's never been finished. But this is a 5-round title fight with Nate Great. And Saffiedine, I don't think he can hang with Marquardt. It's just, I think we may see the Nate Marquardt that was busting out Tekken combos on Wilson Govea. This is going to be another beautiful showcase for Marquardt. I'm certainly hoping. And I think he's getting a TKO in this anywhere from the first to the fourth round. No way this thing goes more than 4 rounds.
Powerful Patrick Johnson. Yeah, powerful cocksucker. Those Tekken combos that you were talking about against Govea, I think is top 5 finishing material. You had a flying knee into punches, into head kicks that led into spinning back fists, punches and knees. That was definitely amazing. Nate Marquardt was an absolute beast at middleweight. He did lose to Okami in a kind of close decision. He did lose to Sonnen in a kind of domination, but he looked somewhat competitive in both. The only man to ever completely dominate Nate Marquardt in the octagon was Anderson Silva. Can't take too much stock out of him. Tarek Saffiedine actually fought Tyrone Woodley and lost a decision, but he was the only one that ever dealt damage the entire fight. Woodley was trying to take him down. He was landing combos, but takedowns, obviously, in the current state of mixed martial arts, give you the edge. So Tarek is he's a very talented mixed martial artist. He actually trains with Dan Henderson and Team Temecula Team Quest in Temecula. So I wouldn't underestimate Tarek Saffiedine. If this was a 3-round fight, I could see him making it, to the distance with Nate Marquardt. That being said, it is a 5-round fight. And seeing how he fared against Woodley and what Marquardt did to Woodley, I'm going to go ahead and say championship round finish for Nate Marquardt.
Championship round finish for Nate Marquardt, very similar to his last fight against Tyron Woodley. We agreed on a lot of these fights because so many of the fights are one-sided matchups. So I guess that's it. We'll send this out. Big thanks to all the listeners. You guys really keep us going. You can tune in to the MMA Roundtable every Thursday. It's 7 to 9 Eastern, 4 to 6 Pacific, midnight to 2 a.m. in the UK if you're staying up late. And we do keep the links up on our Twitters, the MMA Podcast and MMA Mental. You can look at either one of those and click in those time frames and click on the Ustream link and listen to us live, call in, tweet us, whatever. It looks like Patrick or Ray jumped off, so Patrick, you want to do a little plug action for MMA Mental?
Yeah, no doubt. Thank you, Jake. We always love doing the MMA Podcast Roundtable show, co-promoted with MMA Mental. Always fun. We've got the links to this show on MMA Mental. You can check out our podcast. We recorded just yesterday. We had Abel Trujillo, who just massacred Marcus Levasseur in his debut at UFC on Fox 5. We also had Tough 16 contestants, Smiling Sam Alvey and Bristol Morunde. And we also had, oh, Jesus, who the hell else did we also have? It was such a big show last night. We had Colin the Freak Show Fletcher, Tough Smashes runner-up. And he was one of the most awesome interviews we've done. Such a cool dude. It was just beautiful talking with him. Check out the site, MMA Mental. We got a redesign. Wes and Andy behind the scenes, they did a good job over there. So come check it out.
Check that shit out. Also, check out our boy Ramses' podcast, Word on the Street. You can follow him on Twitter at The Ant Jimmy Show. And go ahead and follow us all on Twitter. Patrick is Sweet Pappy Jones. Ray runs that MMA Mental account. You can follow me at Jake Walters with a Z. You can follow Dave at Buffalo Dave 10. Chris at C. Lowenstein, and also listen to Chris and my podcast, the MMA Podcast, every Wednesday from 9 to 11. Subscribe to us on iTunes and YouTube. We have
Don't listen to this week's.
Don't listen to this week's. Well, definitely listen to the clip of our Ryan Jimmo interview, but don't listen to the entirety of this week's unless you want to hear Chris pass out.
Straight up, right on the screen.
Oh boy,
go in deep.
It was awesome.
Oh, was it? You were there for that? I wasn't.
I was listening, man. You pulled a Goldie.
Oh, fucking! We had Mike Goldberg on the air with us. But yeah, the MMA Podcast live every Wednesday, 9 to 11 Eastern, 6 to 8 Pacific. Check us out on iTunes and YouTube. The links for those are on the top tabs on the MMApodcast.com. Yeah, we had Ryan Jimmo on last week. We're going to have Chad George on next week. Check out Occupation Fighter on Twitter. Really looking forward to get his 2 cents. So for myself, Chris, Ray, Dave, Ramsey, P-Money, until next week, we gone.
peace.
Bye.
See you.
With our science, silencing all these idiots caught up in all their ignorance. 2 clans fighting under the same banner. We all got love for this ground game, and that's all that matters. In the balance, the teachings of the grandmaster. I'm trying to master the system, that's what I'm after. And stay true to the craft, spark trees to relax. Old school miracle, lace in the track. And I'm working the angles, always sharp and precise, man. Back in the day when I was learning to rock in this mic, paying homage to the classic shit. Dilated, undisputed heavyweights repping Los Angeles. And yeah, I do this for the 213. Historical flip down, you know I'm with that G. So fire in the hole, slick with the flow. High caliber weapons is here to shatter the fucking